All right, so I know a lot of people took this. I took it as well. Maybe I got a bit lucky. But I also think that a lot of the people who took it got a bit unlucky. So it just is what it is. I'm just going to go over my thought process for it. I'm going to go over the TP placement, the entry, everything like that. And of course, above all else, honestly, the overall context and why I wasn't looking to hold this very long. So to start off, what was I looking for? Well, when I opened the charts, we were looking like this. I was classifying the high middle time frame as trending bullish, middle time frame as bullish as well. I kind of saw the start of the middle time frame somewhere in here. We pulled down. We're now kind of above this high, and this shape's about to look a little bit weird. But yeah, what I was hoping for initially was a pullback kind of into this area. I was looking at some lows in here, looking at areas where we'd push strongly out of kind of in here. Initially, this little retrace was, yeah, probably somewhere in there. Yeah, I was looking for buys, but I just felt like we were a little bit high up. I wanted to break out of this low time frame structure, overextend relative to that low time frame structure into an area where you'd naturally expect this overall high middle time frame to continue. So yeah, all of this structure plus the fact that the high time frame had shifted bullish, right? I was classifying the high time frame as bullish. That's what led me to want to look for buys initially. Now, as for what I defined as the high time frame, I was kind of looking at this duration of price right here. I was looking at this large shift to the upside. We pulled back deep within it, and then we had just been high middle time frame trending bullish from there on out. So naturally, you'd expect price to continue up to this high and probably beyond it, just where we just shifted to the upside. Yeah, of course, if you zoom out a little bit further, higher time frame wise, we're pretty range bound. But just for the immediate relevant structure, in here we're at a position where you'd expect buys. Now we ended up just driving bullish. We simply didn't get low enough for me to feel comfortable taking buys. The relativity was just too shit. So started to shift my focus to potential sells just off the narrative that if we were to overextend relative to our middle time frame / high middle time frame structure into a nice level, which this was a 4-hour open close, hourly open close, then I'd be willing to justify a quick sell. Now, keep in mind, I still overall, like the net result of this price action, I was still expecting bullish. So I definitely realized that I was sacrificing some probabilities here. Now, usually when I'm taking a trade against the middle time frame, especially the high middle time frame, I want it to be one, overextended relative to its current character, which we were here, obviously, right? This is kind of how we're moving on the middle time frame / high middle time frame, and we're obviously overextended relative to that. But two, I want it to be overextended into opposite external structures. So I'm taking sells here. I'd want this structure, this high middle time frame structure, to be overextended into bearish external structure. So on this occasion, I made a bit of a sacrifice, just given how strong I thought this level was. 4-hour level, hourly level. It is obviously near highs as well. So yeah, so overall, that was the main issue with this trade, if you want to call it that. We weren't overextended into bearish external structure. We were just simply overextended into an area where you could expect price to react. So really my confluence was the 4-hour / hourly level and the fact that we were overextended relative to that structure. And I was just expecting a bit of a pullback before potentially continuing bullish. But we didn't have that strong external confluence that I usually look for, where you're stacking probabilities that price may damn well continue and just break whatever trend it's overextended out of. There's really not any sort of expectancy for that in this situation, and I think that is probably the weakest component of this entry. Now, why did I take this anyway? Well, it's because I realized I could get a really favorable RR with targeting a very, very minimal amount, given just how high up I was going to be able to get in, given how the tick structure was looking, right? Such a minimal stop loss. I really didn't have to target hardly anything for a good RR, and I thought it was a pretty high probability scalp. I'll go over what I entered off of here. So obviously driving bullish through here. I really liked this initial sell reaction. Obviously wasn't going to enter off of that. We then get a break to the downside, essentially a little tick T3. But I'm of course waiting for the response to that, given we are trading against middle time frame direction, honestly just overall direction in general. So we get a pretty strong response. Wasn't going to enter off of that. And here was just kind of waiting to see if we got anything. Nothing through here. Then we get this push up, take these highs, and then I'm just kind of looking at the size of these tick candles, and I'm realizing like I can literally just slip a stop right up here, and I really need nothing to get a solid trade here, given we're at a 4-hour level, given we're overextended relative to that high middle time frame structure. I thought it was sensible. We got this strong selling reaction here. I waited like a couple of seconds to see if we were going to get a snappy buying reaction. We didn't get one. So yeah, I entered before the break of any of this, just off of the fact that we got a break right here and just how we were responding to that bullish push after taking the high. So yeah, entered here. TP was at this kind of tick structure low right here just before it a little bit. What that looked like on the 1 minute is, I believe, kind of this 1 minute wick right here. But yeah, I placed the take profit just based off of that tick low. So yeah, maybe got a bit lucky, but I really wasn't looking to hold this very long, given it was against overall direction. The main reason why I took it was just because I saw that I was able to get such a favorable RR while targeting so little, and I just thought there was a high chance that at least a little bit of this move was going to be filled. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Of course, stop would have been hit, and then we do pull back a little bit. There was actually a really nice buy somewhere in here, but I was off at that point. I think it was like right here. Yeah, that would have been a pretty nice buy for an overall continuation of not only this, but also this shift to the upside. So you're just expecting price to continue here. That's the most natural move. Keep in mind, you're taking sells here. All time frames are pretty much aligning against you. So yeah, I'm just looking to be super conservative and got lucky, I guess. As for the DXY, I wasn't looking at it really. We did have a bit of a shift to the upside just before, and yeah, entered on that candle. But as I said, wasn't really looking at it. If anything, at this very moment, it probably had low time frame bearish expectancy, low time frame bullish expectancy. Yeah, so probably DXY wasn't that favorable, but I honestly haven't been looking at it much lately, just given how low volume it's been. I more so look at it to invalidate entries, like if there are any crazy red flags or it's like absolutely pumping with volume, I'll chill out. But yeah, I've mainly just been locking in on gold structure and just stacking the probability that larger moves will happen and then taking like 10% of that larger move. And the reason, of course, I wasn't looking to target much here, as I already said, is I was kind of stacking the probability that a pullback to this overall move would occur, but I wasn't stacking the probability of this entire thing just kind of breaking down, given we had overall bullish direction. So yeah, that was the thought process. So yeah, I think it was a decent trade. I don't think any entry in here would have been too bad. The one thing I would have avoided is entering towards the end of the hour, just given if an hourly candle opens, it's so likely it's just going to manipulate in honestly either direction. It's just going to start spazzing out, and you're probably going to get stopped. But yeah, I'd take it again, just given I was fine with sacrificing the added probability that overall direction would have provided. I just think it's a bit of a unique scenario.